Well, hello, good afternoon, and good evening, and good morning, somewhere out there in the world. This is Real Talk with EVE, and I know you have not seen me for a minute, but EVE is everywhere doing wonderful things. And so I have not had a chance to do a live. And of course, we are bringing new guests. We have a wonderful guest here today on Real Talk with EVE. And some of you may have already seen me share things that are going on regarding this individual, but more than anything, the movement, the things that the company has been doing, and the direction that they're going. So I just couldn't help myself but to invite the CEO of this great company. And I encourage you all to share this video, share this, I would say, this broadcast, right? And we're going to talk about some real talk today. And some of you may know, some of you may not know who he is. And of course, it's none other than the CEO of Urban TV Network and Punch TV Studios. And so I'm going to, without further ado, I'm going to bring him up. He's very busy. So for me, I am blessed. I'm blessed that he has made time for me, but more than anything, time for the audience. And here he is. Welcome, Mr. Collins. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you? Thank you for having me
I
on your
am
show.
blessed. Yes, I am blessed and highly favored to have you here today. And I know that you are one busy man. You're like the octopus, doing so many different things, but all for a great cause. So, some of you may have seen that this young man has actually been featured on my magazine. That is Ethereal Lifestyle Magazine. If I'm correct, he was featured in the January issue of. I can't believe that it's been a year. Can you believe that, Mr. Collins? It's been a year. Time flies when you're having fun.
Well, here's the good part about it. You still look as good now as you did a year ago. So you. I don't think time messed with you at all. I don't know what happened. Looks like we're frozen. Looks like we're frozen. Looks like we're frozen. I don't know what happened.
Here we go. I'm so sorry about that. The power went out for a second, so the internet went out, so everybody froze for this second. And so you were just paying an awesome compliment, Mr. Collins. Can you repeat yourself again before you
Oh,
got cut
say
off?
it again. Okay, yeah. No, I was saying a year has passed, and you look as beautiful today as you did a year ago. So I don't
Oh,
think
well,
time
thank you.
messed with you at all.
Oh, well, thank you. I received that. Thank you so much. So, to our lovely audience, we want to thank you for joining us once again. And we're going to learn a little bit about who Joseph Collins is and the great things that he and his company is doing. And I'm just excited. I don't know if you know this. Can I call you Joseph?
You may.
Um, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a fan of what you're doing with Urban Television Network and with Punch TV Studios. And when I met you, it was Punch TV Studios, and then all of a sudden, here the child, the baby that you have grown in these last 5, 6 years, from what I've been seeing, what you've been doing. And so, okay, I think we lost Mr. Collins. Are you there? Okay, I think he may be having technical difficulties as well. Okay, let's see if we can bring him back up. Okay, there he is.
I apologize for
Things
that.
do happen, people, especially when you are live. That was a blooper moment right there, Joseph.
That was totally a blooper moment right there. So yeah,
Looks like you have been on the move. And so we're going to back it up a second for those of you that are watching. This
I
is
should
none
have
other
put this
than,
on a tripod actually, and this would have been a lot better. I have it
ah,
on.
okay, wonderful.
Oh,
So for all those that are here with us, you can comment, question. He is here to answer whatever questions you may have.
yeah,
Hopefully, he's
definitely,
will
definitely.
answer live here. This is the CEO of Urban TV Network and Punch TV Studios. Excuse me. And so we want to know, who is Joseph Collins as a person. I know that you have a heartfelt story. I read your whole story that was written and the magazine, and to say that from rags to riches, that's a cliche that a lot of people use, right? But something that caught my attention was the fact that you started a dream as a child into a closet of a church. But before we go into that story, who's Joseph Collins as the person? Who is that?
Well, you know, I'm just really a hardworking guy. I believe in the community. I believe in creating opportunities for people to build themselves, specifically in urban communities and in the urban space. And I've kind of always been about that. I'm a born again Christian. I love the Lord, and and I want to see people in their lives prosper, and I want other people to achieve their dreams and achieve their goals through me. I mean, or through the vision that I have for our company and through the vision of what we are working so diligently and so hard to do and have worked so diligently and so hard through the years. So I don't know any how else to say. I feel like I'm super handsome. You know, there's not a lot of good looking guys in the world.
Oh
You
my
know, I'm
goodness.
going to go ahead and take that one right there. But but no, I'm on a mission for change. I'm on a mission for change in our company. I'm on a mission for change in America. I'm on a mission for change.
And I'm all about change, Mr. Collins. I certainly like to see movement, right? Because if we're just stuck, we're stagnant, there's no change going on, right?
Correct, correct, correct.
So, you as a person, what were you like as a child? Tell us a little bit about that part.
I I was a very interesting child, even by today's standards. I used to make movies. I would build whole cities and stuff and make movies up with my Hot Wheel cars, stop animation movies, which was called now. Now they just do animation and they do motion animation. But back then, I would make movies in my mother's backyard. My mother thought I was one of the most weirdest kids. So
Oh
I
my.
was an athlete, so I ran track as an athlete. I mean, I was really fast as an athlete, and I did those things. But I also made lots of movies, and I love to be able to shape and tell stories about whatever the thing I was thinking about at the time. And we, instead of making models, I would take my models and make movies and stop animation and blow them up in the backyard, set them on fire in a little city we made. And those are the kinds of things that I did as a child for the most part. Always a thinker. My mom would play Chopin at night for us, and she would play Beethoven, and she would play Madame Butterfly, and she would play all of these different kinds of musics at night when we go to bed. And she would play other types of tapes when we would go to bed at night, like Lead the Field with Earl Nightingale, Zig Ziglar. She played a lot of Brian Tracy. I think she was a Brian Tracy fan, and and those things kind of absorbed into who I became as a person and who I became as an entrepreneur and who I became as a man. And so those are the kinds of that was who I was as a kid, really. Yeah.
Interesting. And one thing that you said that I rarely hear, especially nowadays, that how our kids are being introduced to the music that your mom introduced you to. That's very rare,
My mother
especially in our culture, the Black and brown community.
my mother wanted us to be eclectic. She did not want us to have one view on any one subject matter. So certainly we listened to the Isley Brothers in the house. She loved the Isley Brothers. Certainly we listened to Prince. Certainly we listened to um, I mean, some of the great artists, Barry White. I mean, my mom she had a thing for Barry White. I'm sure she had a thing for Barry White.
She's not here to tell you.
You ain't here to tell me, but I'm sure because every time she played that Barry White music, she go, "Oh, that's my song right there." So I'm sure she had a thing for Barry White. But for us, she wanted us to be very varied in thought. So at night she would play Mozart, and she would put on, and she would play it all night long. I don't even know how she managed to get up and loop a record player, you know.
Mm.
And she would get up and loop that record player, or how. And then finally, we got a record player that looped itself, so that the needle would come up, go back, and start over. If you think about it, I mean, kids today probably know nothing about what I'm talking about, but the needle would go to the end of the record, lift up him, and so we would listen to Mozart, and we would listen to Beethoven, we would listen to Chopin, we would listen to Madame Butterfly. We would listen to these things that really gave you a different perspective of what America is and what America could be and what you are and what you are. And we're bigger than our communities. Even if you're in a community, we're still bigger than the community itself. And we need the expressions of that. And so because I had that different kind of expression, um, it was important to us. I mean, there were language in our house that we couldn't use. Like I see some kids. I was watching a little boy in a store the other day, and he cussed at his mother. Like that would never happen in my house.
The mom could
There's
be cussing, but not the child.
nowhere in the world. There's nowhere in the
Damn.
world that's happening in my house. You ain't cussing at my mama. I'm telling you, man. If
We'll
I'd have
be like,
cussed at my
where's the
mama, I
belt?
wouldn't be here on this interview today. I tell you that right now. I saw that little boy cuss at his mama in the store. I was like, is she gonna slap that
Mess out of him? Yeah, right.
mess out of him?
Well,
And I was like, yeah, she didn't even hit him. Come over here, like I told you, come over here. That would not be Betty Collins. You cuss at Betty Collins, you best, you best, you best in the trouble, boy. You best call the police and somebody to come help you, because you are in massive trouble. I mean,
right.
massive trouble. So my mom wanted us to have a very eclectic view of life. And not just
Mm,
because we were poor, she did not want us to have a poor nor a defeated attitude. And so she wanted to put that in us. And I think she succeeded with that, with myself and my brother, my sister. And she succeeded in achieving, not letting us have, just because you're in a poor situation doesn't mean you should have a poor attitude, or doesn't mean you have to be poor in that
mm.
situation. You're just going through something right now. And that's how my mom was, and that's how we grew up. And my dad, Baptist preacher, boy. My dad was a fire brimstone Baptist preacher. Loved my dad tremendously. And my dad was just different. He just always thought, you know, he thought about things from a different perspective. He thought about everything from a spiritual perspective. He thought about everything
Mm.
from is this what God would do? Is this what God would want? If this is how it is. And so we get this balance. My mother was certainly outgoing and very vibrant. My mother was a very vibrant mother, and my dad was a very church guy. So in me, you
Great
get the both of
combination.
them.
You get
A
the
great
best of both
combination.
worlds, right?
Get the best, absolutely.
So, what route did you decide to take? And now a teenager going to adulthood.
I didn't
What,
understand the question.
what, what? We all have choices, right? How
Right,
our moms brought us up, how our dads brought us up, two different things that they cultivated or they taught us. What road did you decide to take? Having a mix with your dad and your mom. Now, your dad being a pastor, your mom being who she is and being vibrant and teaching you about this music and different genres that can make you think positive, think you rich, instead of, as we say, so as a man thinketh, so is he, right? So
right.
your mind was, I'm going to go and move forward. What decision did you make in going from teenager into adult?
Well, as a teenager, I've only had two goals my whole life, really. In my whole life, since I was 9 years old, I've only had two singular goals that I could point out. One was to become a billionaire. That was my goal since I was 9 years old. And the second goal was to become president of the United States. Those are the two goals that I've had since I was 9 years old. Because and especially now when you look at America, I mean, it's in need of leadership. People are crying for leadership, and the leadership that we have right now are too polarized in one direction. And I just think that that's absolutely the wrong direction to be on. And I think that I knew that if I was going to become a billionaire, I had to become an entrepreneur. I just believed that. I knew that. And so my whole thing was to figure out how to be an entrepreneur. even though I worked on jobs and I worked for people, but how do you be an entrepreneur, and then how do you do it successfully? How do you do what at the time that I was, how do you do what some of the great architects of media have done? That was always important to me. How do I do what William Paley did? How do I do what Oscar Michaud did? How do I do what these guys did and really make a difference in the lives of people, or in the lives of America? That's kind of the path I wanted to take, and that was a path I kind of went down. The Lee Iacocca, you're like, how can I do what Lee Iacocca did? Lee Iacocca, amazing businessman, saved Chrysler, save American jobs, save the economy. How can I do what Lee Iacocca did in 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 saving the country at that time? How can I do those kinds of things? And that was always very impressive um, to me. How can I do what Ted Turner did? Ted Turner is very impressive. How can I do what Ted Turner did? Even though Ted Turner's dad gave him a really big boost when he started, but how can I do what Ted Turner did? Now, I didn't know it was going to take this long to get to here, but Jesus, that was how I thought as a kid. Like, I know if Ted Turner could do it, I can do it. I
And you know
know.
what? And that's a great mindset that our youth need to be taught to have that type of mindset. We need to retrain the brains, right? But there's
Correct,
something,
correct,
I
correct.
went back. I went back to when you first came to this region out here in Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland area years
Right,
ago,
right,
where Punch TV Studios was
right,
actually um, in the presence of Joe Jackson's birthday party. That was
right,
some years ago, right? And
right.
so I had invited you to talk to our youth, and there was something that you talked about, you putting your mind into how can I make, correct me if I'm wrong, if my memory serves me well, how can I make $10,000 or something? And you, I think, were just still a kid.
Well,
You've had that entrepreneurial mindset since you were a kid.
younger. I was in my 20s when I
Well,
came
young
to that,
adult,
but
young.
younger,
co-
younger.
Mhm,
So what
mhm.
happened was I got fired. I worked at a company called Northrop Aircraft. And back then, it was a lot different than it is today. Workers have a lot of rights then now that they didn't have then. And I had to use the restroom really bad. And I had been holding it because you weren't supposed to leave the line, but I just couldn't hold it anymore. And I went to the restroom. I came back from the restroom and my supervisor fired me. And it angered me so much. It just angered me that my supervisor would fire me because I had to use the restroom. Like, I was just one of those times where it's not like I I hit my goals every day, and sometimes I even exceeded the goals that they had at the company. But I got fired from Northrop Aircraft for using the bathroom. And so
Wow.
I said to myself, and we had no rights. You're talking 30 years ago. So we had no real rights back then. So even though I tried to fight it, the company had the rights, and I just thought that was very unfair. So when I came home, I had told my wife at the time, my ex-wife, you know what? I want to go into business for myself. And I went into business for myself. I went into business cleaning buildings. I started a maintenance company. And so I went into building business cleaning buildings. And I made more money actually, because you got to remember back then, $300 a week, that was a lot of money.
Right, right, right.
Northrop paid me $300 a week, 250 after taxes, $300 a week. That was big money. I mean, $300 a week, boy, that was big money. Because I mean, rent wasn't but $299 a month. Two
Right,
hundred ninety nine
right.
dollars a month. So $300 a month, that was big money back then. And but I decided, I was out and I was working, and I decided I wanted to make $10,000 a month. What do you have to do to make $10,000 a month? And that's kind of how my whole journey. Now, nobody in my circle believed that you could make $10,000 a month. Nobody. My dad didn't believe it. My ex-wife did not believe it. My people at the
Mm,
church did not believe it, because there was nobody doing it. You know what I
nobody doing
mean?
it. Right, right.
There was nobody doing it. You got to. My mother um, was making $4 an hour. At that time. So 10,000 a month from $4 an hour was like a pipe dream,
Right, right.
right? Because you're talking about, it took them 6 months, you know, to almost make $8,000. You know what I mean? So that's how that was. So it's 10,000 every month was a pipe dream, and that's what I wanted to learn, and that started my entrepreneurial journey. That's how my entrepreneurial journey started. Like, what do you got to do? And I would meet other people doing what I did as a janitor for myself. I cleaned buildings, and they were making 10, 15, $20,000 a month as a janitor. So I like, well, that's what I need to do, you know?
Uh-huh.
And fortunately for me, and we were doing, and at that time we were doing $4,000 a month, my ex-wife and I at that time. But even her mentality, and I loved my ex-wife, so don't get me wrong, but just her mentality, because of the times, it was like an unbelievable thing. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, you make 4,000 a month, but what are we going to do for medical? What are we going to do for this? What are we going to do for? Okay, we can buy our own medical. No, nobody does that. Only the jobs provide medical. You know,
Oh my, that sounds like a
you don't
small
buy your
mind at
own
that
medical. You
moment.
got to get a job so you can get medical, right? That was the whole thinking. You're
That was
talking
the
30 years ago.
mindset,
That was
right?
that was the mindset. So it's not like, today, where people, you just go do what you got to do. But then it was a really big challenge.
Right. Now you did bring up another story, and I was hoping that you'd bring it up, but I know so many years have passed. Something about a lawnmower, lawn company, lawn business. You were a kid. That's one of the short stories you shared with the students.
So my mother was fortunate to buy her own house, and that house cost $17,000, and she was able to buy her own house, and that was great. And so we were able to move from an apartment, living with, well, we lived in a back house at that time, and but we were able to move from this back house to, my mom had yard, her own yard, her own everything. And we had bushes. I think that's why I got such big arms right now, because we had to reach out and cut them bushes around there. And the bushes were like 8 feet wide on the top, and they were like 15 feet high. So you get up on this ladder and you cut them bushes. But my mom finally, um, my mom bought this beautiful brand new lawnmower. And I said, I am going to go in the lawnmower business. I'm going to go into gardening services. And I might have been 12 at the time, 12, somewhere between 12 and 14 at the time. I'm going to go in the lawnmower business. So on the weekends, I would take this lawnmower, and we had a push edger. I didn't have a motorized edger, so you had that thing you had to push, and it would
Oh,
cut the edge of the line. I mean, you would just be working, right? But then I got all of the other kids in the community to come work for me. So I had all the kids in the community working for me, and we were cutting all the yards where I was making great money. I mean, really, between Monday and Sunday, I made like 700 a week or something like that.
wow, that was
As a
very good
14,
money then.
not Monday or Sunday, between Friday and Sunday, I would make like $700. We cut like 20, 30 yards a day at $20 a yard. And then when I finished paying everybody else so they can go buy their candy, I mean, we as the kids of the community, we was rolling. And 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 I had saved about 4,000 something dollars by the time my mother found out about this. Now, my mother, who was making $4 an hour, right, and that was a good salary then, had never
Right,
seen $4,000 at one time.
right. That's very good money.
Right, and I had it in a jury box in my house. My mother gave me this jury box, and then I learned something very important about mothers. They go through your stuff. Your mom, you gone, they're going through your drawer, they're going through your boxes, they're going through your thing. And my mother found this huge wad of money that I had saved, $4,000, $5,000, something like that. And next thing you know, my mom called my dad, and my dad came down to the house. They were divorced. My mom called my dad. My dad came down to the house all the way in Pomona, because nobody could believe this. Where did this money come from? And my mom says, we know he's doing something illegal. And my dad and my mom, I come in, Hey, Dad, what's happening? Why are you here? Son, we need to talk. That's why I hate the word. We
Uh-oh.
need to talk to women, we
Uh-oh.
need to talk. So my dad says, we need to talk. Where'd you get all this money from? And they had all my money spread out on the coffee table in the living room. My mom says, and my mom walks up and slaps me. Like I didn't even get a word out. She says, "Pow! My son is doing drugs. My son is you're doing something illegal. I don't know what you're doing. What are you doing? How do you get this money? Like this is $5,000." I said, "Mom, I've been cutting yards." Now that was unbelievable
Right,
in my
right.
mom's mindset. It was just unbelievable. Hi, nobody makes this kind of money cutting yards. What do you got? How do you cut yards and make this? My mother, how do you cut yards and make this kind of money? It's like, no,
More
mom,
than
just
what
cut
I'm
yards. Not
making, right?
everybody. Huh?
I said, she's probably saying more than I'm making. So what are you doing?
It was more than she made in a week, because by the time I
Wow.
got caught, I had about $4,000, $5,000 just in a jury. I didn't know what to do with the money. I just had it, stored in a jury box, my mom had give me. My mom broke the lock on my jury box to get my money out. So I'm just saying there are a lot of different things you can do and come around and really, create a new life for yourself. And just because other people don't believe it doesn't mean it can't happen. You know,
Right, right,
that's
right.
important.
And I think, I want the audience to hear this. I wanted to bring this up out of you because, as you know, with the stigma being black and brown, they tend to not see those or hear those success stories, right? That you can become from nothing to something, from rags to riches. And you are an example to that. And
Well,
I,
it's all about your mind. You're always something. You're never nothing. You're always something. If your mind is something, right? If your mind is right,
that's
you're
good.
always something.
That's
Always. So it's
good.
not necessarily you coming from nothing. You're coming from what's in your mind and you're manifesting what's there. And then sometimes it
Mm,
takes a while for that manifestation to come to pass, right? So
right,
but
right.
while you're manifesting, you have to stay on your path and stay on your journey. And then when the manifestation come, all people really see is the fruit. They don't see how you dig the dirt. They don't see how you had to bury the seed, and you had to put fertilizer on the seed, and you had to water the seed, and you had to wait for the seed to germinate, and you had to wait for the seed
Mm,
to then sprout, and then the weather comes and the weather beat your little bush back and forth. But if you stand fast in that area, you start getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And the stronger you get, then you're able to deliver fruit. But fruit don't come right away.
right,
Now, once your tree is stable, now you deliver fruit seasonally. Every season, here's your crop of fruit. But trying to get a tree from a seed, trying to get from a seed to fruit is a journey. You understand? Trying to get to that. I mean, there are bad things that happen to a tree if you think about it. You
right.
know, you're a tree and you're sitting there. Let's think if you're the tree right now, and you're sitting there, and guess what happens to you? The dog comes and pisses on you because you're the tree. You the tree. You just standing there. Now, you could complain about the dog pissing on you, or you can go, "Oh, boy, I really needed that water because it was a hot day." So it depends on where your
Right,
mind
right,
is
right,
when somebody's pissing on you. I mean, that's basically how you have to look at it, right? I mean, it's just that's what happens. You come along and what somebody do? Somebody carves their name in your tree. Jamie loves Bob. They carve it in your tree,
right, right,
right? So now you got your life trying to grow that carving out. Jamie loves Jamie loves Bob. That's what you have to do. So, and you didn't want nobody to carve in your tree. Guess the amazing thing about this is very amazing about a tree. If you stand in a tree's way long enough, it will grow around you. It will absorb
mm,
you into its thing around you. You talk
mm,
about, but it's got to be in you.
mm,
Talk about here's my little bitty seed, right? lose it?
No,
There's
we're
my
here.
little bitty seed.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think we have a little technical.
I'm hoping I'm live again. I don't know what happened.
Yes, you're here. You're just freezing up a little bit, but you're here live with Real Talk with E.V.E. And while he comes back, there he is. He's the
So you
CEO
say,
of
here's
Planet.
my little bitty
Mhm.
seed. Oh, now
Okay, I think your signal's kind of going on in and out. You there, Mr. Collins? I think he froze a little bit.
if you feel
Uh,
even.
you there? Technology has its pros and cons, and so if there's a weak signal and you freeze, that's what happens. Um, Hopefully, he'll come back to us. Are you there, Mr. Collins? Are you there, Mr. Collins?
No idea what's
I mean, don't go anywhere.
going
You're
on.
there. I think
The
it's just your,
internet's messing up.
yeah, it's just your signal. It's coming in and out. But that seed and what you do with that seed will know what the product comes to be,
Is that
right?
power?
Yeah. You there? I think it's on your end. These weak signals on your end.
Mm-hmm.
You're freezing up a little bit. So it goes back to so as a man thinketh, so is he, is the mindset of a person. That when you teach your children to be positive, to think themselves happy, that whatever they put their mind to, it can come to fruition. That is what we need to start teaching our youth. And one thing about you, Joseph, is that's the way you trained your mindset to think, right? I don't know if you're back. Are you there? Are you there? Are you there? Are you on the Wi-Fi? If you are not, get off the Wi-Fi. If you can use the internet from your device, that may help. Can you hear me?
I finally can hear you, but you're coming in and out. I can't really.
Yeah, I think it's your signal because I see you freezing up on your end, and I know that it happens. So I thank the audience to be for their patience as well because technology can be either in our favor or against. And in this case, right now, it's not in our favor, but we are here live on Real Talk with E.V.E. and a CEO of
Okay,
Urban TV.
I just tried to log in from another device. Can you try that?
Is that what you're
Can
trying to
you
do?
add another person to your device?
Yes,
I
you can
just
go ahead
added
and log in.
another.
Go ahead and log into another device, and then you can log out of this one. So we'll just add you onto our screen here. Um, we apologize for the technical difficulties, but it happens. And let me remove you and add you here. Okay. So if you can get off the other one, because we're hearing an echo. Mr. Collins. Okay, maybe I'll kick you out. There you go. I kicked you out of that one. You're good now. You're good. Now I can't see you.
Okay. Now, hopefully, this will be good for us.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, we do apologize for that, guys. Thank you for your patience in listening to a story. And I think that, or I believe that in hearing Mr. Collins' story can bring some type of aspiration, motivation, or encouragement. If you can do it the other way around, that would be great. Your screen landscape.
Yeah,
This
hold
way.
on one quick second. I'm going to get to that.
So in hearing his story from a childhood to an adolescent to an adult, to hear where his mindset was placed from the beginning as a child into adulthood, and that is all how you plant things in your mind, plant things to do, to want to become. He had that aspiration and saying, well, how does this person do it? I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to make $10,000 a month. And that's in hearing his story is he's all along had that instilled in him to think positive, to not think poorly. So as a man thinketh, so is he. So when we think poorly, we stay that way, right, Mr. Collins? And in
Correct.
hearing
It
and
starts in
hearing
your
your
mind.
right
It
and hearing
starts
your
in your
story,
mind. It
Hear
starts
your
in your mind.
story.
What I
Yeah.
was saying when we got cut off is that if you stand in the way of a tree long enough, if you grow and anything can become a tree, the tree will absorb anything that stands in its way. It'll just cover it. It won't cover it all overnight, but it'll take its time. It'll cover it until you no longer exist as the object that's standing in the way. And you got to try to plant your seed so you could become a tree, and you are able to stand the test of time and stand the storms and stand the weather and stand people urinating on you and stand people doing other things to you and carving into you and putting their wishes in your destiny, and you got to stick to what you got to do, and then you will give fruit. When your time comes, you will give fruit, and then your
Right.
fruit will be seasonal. Every year you'll give this kind of fruit.
And that's a beautiful thing. Just as the cliche is, when they hand you lemons, make some lemonade, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
if it's raining, dance in the storm, right?
Right.
And so it's how you react to whatever is happening in your surroundings or in your life or around you. It's what makes a difference. And in hearing your story, Mr. Collins, is the fact that you showed resiliency, right? Tenacity, and you just kept pushing it. You just kept pushing, you kept pressing on. So here, fast forward, you said you like playing with things and creating short films, right? In your mind, you're doing this creativity and filming. So that got you started. Now there's a story that you shared before about starting in the closet of a church. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my company, the company that is a public company, and we have the largest base of independent urban investors in America. I started that company in the back of a church, in the upstairs back closet of a church, an upstairs closet. And the closet was not no really big closet. We were able to put our broadcast center in there. We were able to broadcast to all of our TV stations and stuff from that little closet. I think I didn't go to the church. Like, the church was not my church. It's just that's just kind of how we started our company, right? We started a company in this little bitty space, and we made it work from there. And it's we never stopped from that point on. Like, we made it work. We got our investors, we grew our company. We've been working on growing our company. I mean, we've grown so much, to the fact that recently we made a bid to buy BET. That was it. Yeah, recently we made a bid to buy BET. Our offer was not accepted, but we did do it. You know what I mean? We did do it.
Wow.
And that was that was $1 billion deal from the back of a closet of a church, the back of the closet of a church. From there, we've had thousands of people work for our company, and those are very significant things that we had achieved just from starting from the back of the church. And what I'm saying is sometimes you just start where you are, and you use whatever you have to get started. Just get started, and you'll be surprised the good things that can happen if you just get started. Just get started.
Right, right. Well, not just getting started, but continue. Don't stop. Don't quit. You fall, you get right back up, right? It's that resiliency, right? That's what gets you where you are today. Now, that to me is a congratulatory moment. The fact that I don't want to sound stereotypical because of the stigma. I applaud every Black and Brown individual that succeeds, right? And that makes things come to life, their dream into reality. And what in seeing you grow from when I first met you years ago, in what you were doing to now saying, you may share some crazy thoughts and ideas, and I would be one to say, well, okay, we'll see what happens. Okay, I believe you'll make it happen, because that is the mindset that I've seen you continuously have. And saying this may sound like a crazy idea, like Disney. No one believed Disney, right? And little San Bernardino didn't believe in his dream. And what happened?
He went to Anaheim, and the rest is history.
Right.
So,
And
we've
hearing,
done those kinds of things. I mean, we've done those kinds of, we've worked with different cities and stuff, trying to bring our projects there. If you go to our website, URBT.com, you can take a look at one of the bigger projects that we're working on right now, which is a television studio entertainment complex. And we just keep going and going, and it's not easy. That's the other part that you got to know. It hasn't been easy. It's been a journey. And I mean, you have your really, really good days, and then you have your really, really, really bad days, but it is a journey. It is a journey, and you just got to stay on the journey.
And so, in hearing you just say that, and my audience would probably say, "What? Yeah, he did put an offer to purchase BET, but you had put in an offer to another company, a big major company before, right?"
We had made an official. We made an offer to buy Warner Brothers from AT&T before they did the deal with Discovery. That was a huge deal. I mean, a huge deal because Warner Brothers owned Warner Media at the time, owned CNN, it owned TBS, it owned TNT, it owned Warner Brothers Studios, it owned the Warner Brothers Library, and I thought this would be really great for our community. I thought it would be awesome and truly great for our community to be able to have something like that, to be able to make a difference, to be able to do that. And my stockholders would have been just pleased as punch, if to say to say the least, to now own Warner Brothers. That's always been a sort of a goal in the back of my mind, is to be able to own one of those companies. I'm glad we didn't get it, because the media landscape has changed now, and media is in trouble because of the cord cutting, and people are watching device television, people are watching TV like that now. So that's it. Media is in a lot of hot water. You see the strike going on, with the union strike, the
Mhm.
SAG and after strike,
Right.
in LA, the writer's strike. That thing is going on because technology now is replacing humans to do the same work. And so those are the big things that are happening. So I'm glad that we didn't get it at that time. But these are things you think about. While I'm doing this, I'm going to go get this. That's the way I look at it. While I'm doing this, let's go get Warner Brothers, and let's see if we can add Warner Brothers to our asset base. We
Wow.
recently bought another company. URBT bought another company. She Beverage, we bought the assets of that company. So that was a very good move for us. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that assets are going to turn out to be. We own women's football now. That was a very big purchase in that asset. We own women's football. I don't know if you guys understand. So we own that now. So um, we own a technology that's going to help churches with membership. We own, as part of this acquisition, and then we own a branding company. I mean, these are three assets that were just really, we had to have as part of our thing because we're in television. I think women's football is coming, and we own it. And I'm like, wow, I kind of
Wow.
take that approach to it. Now it's like, okay, let's build it out. Let's put in new leadership. Let's put in these other kinds of things like that. Let's do that and bring it together.
Wow. And now, in knowing this publicly, that your company put in an offer to purchase BET, I know that there's been a lot of rumors, and this is real talk. Okay, people, real talk with EVE. And I don't mind saying this here. I said it on the radio before, is that there's been so many rumors starting from the beginning of the year and congratulating this individual, Tyler Perry,
Well,
that
there was false
purchased.
news. There was false
Yeah,
news. Just say what it was. It was false news, and everybody
yeah,
was congratulating Tyler Perry for buying BET. And at this point, Tyler Perry does not own BET at
right.
this point. I mean, I was just told maybe just 10 days ago that we weren't going to get it. So, so that's how that went like that. So,
Right. So
we
this
don't
is
know who's going to
bringing
get it
things to
yet,
light.
but people are definitely interested in purchasing it. But I think that there's a much bigger play at stake. I think it would have been better if, to me, it would have been better if instead of just buying BET, I brought, we come together and we all buy Paramount. Paramount itself, because Paramount owns BET. To me, that would have been a much better conversation. And I come in with my $3 billion. Tyler comes in with his $3 billion, and Byron Allen come with his $3 billion, and we all go buy Paramount. That to
There you
me
go.
would make more sense than just buying this
Well,
one thing.
well,
But you got to have a vision for that, because
there you
these are
go.
difficult things to do and difficult things to talk about. but you got to have a vision for it, and that makes a difference.
And hearing that, maybe now hearing this show, that word may get to them, and you never know. You're bringing this, as we say, speak it into existence. It may happen, right? But knowing this, folks, knowing that an individual such as Mr. Collins being able to work on getting that type of funding. Now, we're not talking millions, we're talking about billions, people. Maybe you've never had conversations with the B word, the billions. To be able to accomplish that, and I congratulate you to even be able to do that. I know it doesn't come easy because as stigma still follows some of the Black and brown communities and or people, business people, they tend to frown and not want to give you that opportunity, right? I applaud that you were able to make it happen. So you know that whatever you put your mind to, it happens. And so knowing that that has not happened, what's the next move, Mr. Collins? And I extended this show because it takes a lot of time to get someone such as Mr. Collins on the air here, and to get him to give me this time. I believe it's a blessing, and you know, when you bless someone, that you're being blessed tenfold. So to me, you're blessing me right now with giving me some of your time, which time is money, as we say, and I value your time, Mr. Collins. So what's
I'm
next? I
just
keep
happy to be
seeing,
here.
yeah, no, and I just keep seeing URBT News, URBT News. Download the app, and here I am. I'm also sharing it because I'm loving the stories that you're sharing. You know, being very informative in the URBT News. Tell us about that.
URBT News is our television stations, and we have TV stations in Mobile, Alabama, Pensacola, Florida, Wichita, Kansas. But our TV stations for URBT are going to go to a 24-hour news format. Right now, we're still doing movies and we're doing some news, but we're going to go to a 24-hour news format. So I thought, you know what? Let's have the URBT News app available for people, and they can get a glimpse as to what's going to become on TV. And I think the URBT News app is amazing. I mean, if you can't get the app, you can always go to urbtnews.com. But I think the URBT News app itself is just amazing. I mean, we're covering some really hard topics. We covered a topic that's passionate for you with God, with
The human trafficking. Okay, did we just lose you? Yeah, and the latest article, and I'm thankful to URBT News that you brought up human trafficking. Is that what you were talking about?
right. Yeah, no, in human trafficking, we did that, and those things are very important. You know, human trafficking, being able to stop human trafficking, being able to protect our children, being able to protect our families. And I think one of the things that we have to go back to in America is family first. Family first. Children first. Children need guidance. Children need help. Children need mentoring. Children are the future of America, and we need that um, in order to really build on the next generation of Americans. And I think that when we start putting children first, and we start dealing with some of these really tough issues that we have here in our country, it will make things a heck of a lot better than they are today. And we've got to keep an eye on your children. You know, don't let people talk to your children. My mom had a mantra: "Don't you talk to children." You know what I mean? Don't you talk to strangers. My mom had that. Don't you say nothing to strangers, and don't open my door. Don't open my door. I don't care who comes to the door unless I tell you.
Right,
You know,
right, right,
that's where
right.
it was in my house. Y'all probably have something different,
Yeah,
but
and
in
you're
my house,
supposed to
that's where it
teach your
was.
children. Yeah, you're supposed to teach your
Yeah,
children
yeah.
not
We
to
got to
talk
put
to
family
strangers.
first. Family
And
first. Family first. And URBT News is about covering stories about authors and book writers. It's about covering stories about community. It's about covering stories of things that are relevant to our country. It's about, you know, it's a shame what's happening in our country right now. You know, it's really, really a shame. But it's time to put our country first. It's time to put our thoughts first. We have to put families first, and that's where we are. America first, a family first.
and most of all, to have these conversations at the kitchen table with our children, because
We have to talk.
there's so much happening out in this world, not just this country. we have children disappearing left and right and end up in another country, and that's prevalent. It's something that we are uncomfortable to talk about, but it's time to get uncomfortable, folks. And I'm thankful for URBT News to cover that from Rahab's daughter, to bring light out of things, and to know that it could happen in anybody's backyard. It's happening in your community. So I want to thank URBT News and the CEO, Joseph Collins, for being
Thank you.
behind this
Thank
movement.
you.
Yeah, yeah, for being behind this movement and supporting us. And
We
so,
have to
um,
stop child
yeah,
trafficking at every cost. We have to stop child trafficking at every
what's
cost. We've got to
human
take this
trafficking?
thing.
Yeah, I mean, human trafficking, period, because there are women that they started trafficking them as teenagers and now they're adults and now they're looked at and frowned upon as prostitutes, not knowing their story. Take the time to learn, educate yourself, and be part of the solution, not part of the problem, right? Always proactive, preventative measures. Better be safe than sorry. And so, in gaining knowledge and wisdom about things that are going on in the region, we can keep ourselves safer. We can keep our families and children safer. And so, I'm thankful that URBT News comes behind and support us with this movement about Rahab's Daughters organization. It is an international organization, and I couldn't thank you more than I can't thank you enough to say thank you for supporting and being behind us.
Absolutely. This is such an important issue. Child trafficking, human trafficking, it's such an important issue. And we definitely have to start putting resources and education and helping our children know and helping people know, hey, you got to be cautious out there. Even women, you have to be cautious. Sometimes people come up to you with this false stuff and they intend to kidnap you and take you away. And then they do very bad things to you. Yeah, especially young women, they do very bad things to you. And then and then at the end of the day, survival was probably not promised. So you want to take real precautions in everything that we do and educate ourselves on these issues. It says that over 25 million people around the world are some form of human trafficking. That is a lot of people. That is a lot of people. That is a
Yeah.
lot of people.
And that's the biggest industry, $150 billion industry. That's a year in just human trafficking. And the
Correct.
USA is one
Correct.
of the biggest supporters of that. Sad to say, but true. I'm proud to be an American, proud to be living here in the United States. But it is what it is, folks. And that is the true reality that this country is supporting some of the wrong things. And so, how do we fight that? By coming together because we are stronger in numbers, right?
That's and having the conversation, and that's what URBT News is about. It's about having the conversation, having a place to talk about the things that are important to us. And that's like so important, and we welcome stories, we welcome input from around the world, we welcome everything. I mean, we welcome you. We want to tell your story. We want to have it on the news. But we've done wonderful things. Some jazz legends have been on there that people have never heard of, and just different things that people never heard of and people never talk about. And so that's just wonderful.
So we have just a few minutes left. I would say about 5 minutes or so. And I know that we started off a little late, making sure technology was working. And we have Joseph Collins here. He's the CEO of Punch TV Network and Punch TV Studios and Urban TV Network. Um, your drive, where are you taking it? I mean, I see not striving, but thriving. And you have such a strong drive, Mr. Collins, that I have seen throughout the years, and seeing you moving and seeing your company doing great things. Um, Besides URBT News, besides the app, besides the companies that you just purchased, what's next?
I'm considering running for president of the United States of America, and I haven't made a final decision yet, but it's really a definite consideration right now, specifically dealing with the state of politics in America. Our our country is in a lot of trouble right now. It's in a lot of trouble, and somebody needs to bring our country back to the center, back to the middle, and and really help our economy and really help our citizens and really help the American people. And I'm really, really giving a lot of consideration right now to running for president of the United States. To be quite frank with you, I'm giving a lot of consideration to it. I can't say that I'm going to do it right now, but it's definitely on my mind. When I hear stories of child trafficking, when I hear a governor in Florida say what he has said just a few weeks ago, stating that, slavery was important, slavery was beneficial to
Yeah,
black people
that
because
was
it taught them
so
job
harsh.
skills. I'm incensed by that. I'm incensed by that. I'm incensed by that you want to take action and really do something, to really do something that can help America move forward. I really am really
Yeah.
thinking along those lines very, very definitely. I think it's just time. I think people are just sick of politics as usual. And I'm an outsider. I'm a businessman. I know people all over the world, and have done business with people all over the world and all over across the country. And so I'm just really giving it a lot of thought right now. And maybe that might be the direction that we go in to help fix our country.
Wow, and that's a huge move, a big move. Was that something that you aspire to want to do this? Where's this coming from?
Well,
Besides
I've always
wanting to
wanted to
change.
be president since I was 9 years old. And so this is nothing new for me. It might be new for other people looking outside, and that I'm the first black guy to ever run for the city council in Watts in Los Angeles. So, but until I ran, that had never happened before, and that was back in 1980, in the 80s. So, um, I served in Senator Albert S. Rada's office as an intern in California for a very long time, and I worked with Mayor Tom Bradley for some time. In term when we definitely when I was running, and I have a lot of support that we're just going to see how it turns out for now, and see if
Mm.
this is something that we really want to do. But right now, it is in my mind. It is something that I'm very much considering, but I haven't made a decision. We haven't made a decision as a team yet to see if this is what we want to do. But you
So,
can see some of the things I'm talking about at josephcollinsjr.com, or if you Google Joseph Collins for president, you can go and you can see some of the things that I'm thinking about, and you can make a donation, and that will help us, go a long way. You can become one of our contributors. But right now, it is something that's in my mind. It is something that I'm tired of politics as usual. I'm tired of the entire way that the government is functioning and actioning. I'm definitely tired of Joe Biden. I'm just tired of Joe Biden. Really, honestly,
mm,
I just can't. I don't know how we're even functioning right now. Is in that
grace of
in that.
God,
Mhm.
nothing but God. So, in thinking of doing that, you've also been one of the first, if not one of few, that have your own IPO that are a publicly company. That to me, I think, speaks volume about
Not only
you.
does it speak volumes, but the other part about that is that one of the things I'm going to do when if I decide to run for president and I become president, I'm I'm going to I'm going to rebuild and rehash the whole Securities Exchange Commission. I'm going to park my office in the Securities Exchange main office, wherever it is, and we're going to go through that book step by step, and we're going to make it easier for entrepreneurs to get money. We're not going to have all these flim-flamsy laws, the things that I'm dealing with the Securities Exchange Commission. We're just not going to do that, because you can't have a law and then not support what you put out. And the Securities Exchange Commission has basically lied to the American public. They've lied to the people, and they've taken advantage of the urban community to try to make themselves look good. And I'm not gonna stand for it. If I become president of the United States, I am going to open up the floodgates on Wall Street, and we're going to get jobs, and we're going to get our country back rolling, and we are going to get this SEC thing fixed. Even if it means that I've got to fire everybody in the SEC from the top down, I'm willing to do that, because I just think it's a shame how our country treats its entrepreneurs, and then um, besmirches them without proof, without anything like that, without I just think it's a shame the way that they treat our entrepreneurs here, especially in urban communities, because we're the first generations that are now coming through the
Right.
Wall Street system. You know, we're the first generations that are actually doing this now on a different scale, but the scales are still measured. The measurement of that scale is still by companies that are huge companies that we could never you know, excel to be without the support. And so since there's no support in some of the regulations, you know, we're going to get that support into regulations. We're going to get money in the hands of entrepreneurs. We're going to get money in the hands of businesses so that they can hire our people and we can cut these prices. We can hire our people, get people to work, and cut prices in America. Cut the prices in our stores. Get our economy back in something where people can really live. It's a shame you go to the store right now and bacon is $10 a pound. There's something wrong with that. It's something wrong. Something wrong when evaporated milk is $3 a can now. Something you didn't pay 50 cents for a year, but now it's $3 a can. You know, we've got to get the American economy back into a way so that the families can survive. Right now, families are struggling to survive. They're struggling with food. They're struggling with those kinds of things, and
Right.
with
Right.
life. I mean, the electric bills have doubled for people. So that in and of
Mhm.
itself is a struggle for people because now you're begging the light company to keep your lights on because the bills
Mhm.
have doubled and tripled in some areas, and now you got
Mhm.
to do this. You're begging the gas company to keep your gas on because the bills have doubled and tripled in these areas. So we've got to come in and we've got to come up with a sensible plan, put America first, and deal with American issues first and foremost, and get our finance system fixed and get the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, fixed.
Right. And I think Mr. Collins is talking based on his own experiences being a black man that owns several companies that stick out because it's not easy, right? It's not easy being a black or brown person to be in the position where you are, and then they challenge you because of your skin color. Sad to say, but
Well, not
true.
only that, what happens is not only that you're not challenged because of your income, you're challenged
No,
because of your
not at
intellect.
all.
You're
Right.
challenged because of your intellect. So what happens is in the urban community, a lot of people have never invested in a company before. They've never invested in a company before. So when they invest in companies like mine, like Punch, or like Urban, they invest in these companies. They don't understand everything that you need to really invest. They're just investing to help you out. But there's all of these problems that go along with allowing community investors to invest in your company. Although it's an excellent way to create wealth for an entire community, but all of the stuff that goes along with that from a law point of view is wrong. It's just 100 outright wrong. And I've never spoken out about this before, and so this will be my first time even speaking out about it. And so you have community people who want to experience building a portfolio and want to experience building long-term wealth for their families, and so they invest in our companies, and then the SEC clamps down on you because you do something like make an error, you know, or they got an interpretation on one law that shouldn't even be there anymore, or because you've had these problems dealing with this group of specific people, then they clamp down on you, and because the law doesn't line up with the problem that you're dealing with. And that's where we are right now. That's what we're battling against. And that's why when I
Mhm.
become president of the United States, if I should decide to run, I'm going to put the White House inside of the Securities Exchange Commission, and I'm going to have Secret Service surround that place while I'm there, and we're going to go through the books of law one word at a time, and we're going to get this thing fair and equitable so that if a company really wants to raise capital for his business, he knows both the good and the actual bad.
Right.
And
Right.
if you,
Right.
if the Securities Exchange Commission is only selling the good, and they're not telling you, okay, hey, you've got to do this and got to do this on the bad, there's something wrong in that picture. And so we're going to go through those laws, and we're going to get them fixed. We're going to get Wall Street fixed, and we're going to get money flowing to entrepreneurs and to companies that need it to build their companies so that we can get our economy back in track. Our economy is completely out of whack.
And it's obvious to say that it has to do with policy making and what policy they've had and since when that policy was brought into play. It was
One
not
thing
meant.
that is for sure is that the Securities Exchange Commission and capital markets was never designed for people of color,
There you
period.
go.
It was
There you
never
go.
designed for people of color, and it's barely designed for women. So
There
if
you
you just
go.
like it's barely designed for that. This was designed not for people of color, period.
Right. Right.
Because if you're going to attract an investor base that is of your nationality, more than likely while you're trying to get your company going, you need that support. You need that it takes 5-6 years to get a real company up off the ground and rolling in a manner that you need it. But if you are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars of your capital on attorney's fees and on attorneys because of different things that you have to adhere to, there's something wrong with that picture. It's something wrong completely with
Right.
that picture.
Right.
And we're going to get that picture fixed. Should I become president of the United States, and if I decide to actually run, we're going to get that picture fixed by any means necessary. We're going to
Well,
get capital to small businesses. We're going to make small businesses be successful and help, not make them. We're going to help them be successful, and we're going to get that money in their hands so that they can build their companies and employ our communities, get our youth off the street, get youth jobs and things like that going in our community, sustainability in our community. And that's what we are not having right now in America, and specifically in the urban spaces. We got to get sustainability in economics in our community. They can't do it because they don't have jobs. They can't do it because we don't have money to fund companies. And then we've got to let the companies go do what they're going to do.
right. Well, that's certainly great. I wish you the best. And thank
Thank
you
you.
for all that you're doing currently. Guys, Urban TV Network, and that's urbtnews.com, urbt.com, and download the app. And it is free. It's a free app,
It's
and
free app.
you
It's
stay
free 100.
connected. Right. So download the app, stay connected, and see it every day and see what's the latest news. This is a different kind of media. Some of it you may say it's the same, but it's Black owned, and I applaud that. And so we need to support each other, support our own. Thank you so much, Mr. Collins, for coming on here at URBT with you guys, with URBT, the CEO. Thank you so much for coming on Real Talk with E.V.E, Mr. Collins, and I'm sure this won't be the only time you'll be coming on. We
Thank you for
appreciate you.
having me. Thank you.
Thank you. And you guys heard it. It's like, wow, wow. So I support this company wholeheartedly for many, many years. When Punch TV was selling $1 a share way back when, follow the trend and get involved, get in the movement. With that, guys, I gotta go. I got places to go, people to see, things to do. And God is awesome. Thank you all for joining me here live with EVE. I appreciate you all. Please share these interviews, share the information. You know, it's all about knowledge. It's all about, knowledge is powerful, but what you use, when you use that knowledge, it becomes more powerful. And on that note, gotta go. Thank you so much for joining me. Till next time.